All right, so we are in week 10 of our 1 Peter series as we talk about the in-between. And we're going to be in 1 Peter chapter 4, starting in verse 12. It says, "Beloved, do not be surprised at the fiery trial when it comes upon you to test you as though something strange were happening to you. But rejoice insofar as you share Christ's suffering, that you may also rejoice and be glad when his glory is revealed." I'm going to stop there for a moment. I just want to really just challenge you with this. Man, it says, don't be surprised. There's no shock or surprise in suffering. That's not always true for us. Hopefully, maybe you already had a little bit of a discussion. If you haven't, have one in a moment about maybe some traditions or things from your growing up, your traditions in your house that others would have found weird or surprising or a little different. We probably all have just funny things that we do. Like my family for Thanksgiving does its own little parade around the neighborhood. And it's just like true redneck parade. And, it's like our Macy's parade. And people are like, oh, that's weird. Why do you do that? Well, we just have fun with it. But that's our thing, right? That's our tradition. Might be strange to others. But here's the deal, is that we're the foreigners in this world. Remember, we're the elect exiles. We're the strangers here. Strange things are not strange to strangers. Foreign things are not foreign to foreigners. And suffering shouldn't be foreign or strange to us. We should expect it, all right? Why? Because our masters suffered. Why would we expect not to? He told us we would. It shouldn't be strange. We shouldn't be surprised. We shouldn't go, oh no, I'm going through hardship. How? Why? How's that happening? Well, there's a couple things about suffering. And it also tells us here that we should rejoice in it. So there's two truths about suffering that are in your notes that are going to be in your discussion. Our suffering finds its significance in Christ's suffering, and our suffering doesn't destroy us, it purifies us. Man, I hope you really understand the beauty of what God does, that you may also rejoice and be glad when his glory is revealed, that we get to share in the glory of Christ. It says this, "If you are insulted for the name of Christ, you are blessed, because the Spirit of glory and of God rest upon you. But let none of you suffer as a murderer or a thief or an evildoer, as a meddler. Yet if anyone suffers as a Christian, let him not be ashamed, but let him glorify God in that name. For it is time for judgment to begin at the household of God. And if it begins with us, that will be the outcome what will be the outcome for those who do not obey the gospel of God? And if the righteous is scarcely saved, what will become of the ungodly and the sinner? Therefore, let those who suffer according to God's will entrust their souls to a faithful Creator while doing good." Here's really what I want you to consider tonight as you discuss as a life group. And it's really this cycle, if you would, of just God's work of redemption. So I'm just going to talk through it real quick. So there's creation. Here's with the Creator. And the creation was good. It's interesting. It says, faithful to a Creator while doing good. When God created, what did he say after his creation? And it was good. And then after he created, he would say, and it was good, right? So God is the Creator, and all things are good because he's a good God. So that's creation. And then there's our work and our own, how we live, and that's sin. And we destroy that. But God is in a process of restoration and redemption and reconciliation, as has been talked about in this book, that, Jesus Christ died once for all sin, that he's the atonement of our sin, that is by his wounds that we are healed. Just over and over again, it has taught us the truth of the work of God in salvation. And so there's this work of redemption. And then what that causes in us is that we are a new creation. The old is gone and the old has passed away and the new has come. And that we're experiencing that we now have a living hope, that we are now a holy nation, a royal priesthood, a people belonging to God, right? So he recreates us and now we are good. And as Ephesians talks about, that we are his workmanship, created to do good works, which bring him glory. So there's the glorification of God. So there's his recreation in us, which leads to his glorification, which causes other people to believe in him. They see our good works and praise our Father who's in heaven. And then that causes them to believe, and they experience redemption and reconciliation. And there's from the Creator, there's creation, there's redemption and reconciliation, there's recreation, there's our glorification of God, and then back to him as the Creator and him and his redemption. And it's just a cycle of life after life after life, that we are called to do good to our faithful Creator, that we would suffer, realizing that it is according to the will of God, not outside of the will of God, because he's doing a good thing through us for his glory, for the gospel of Christ. Are you that committed to the gospel that you're willing to suffer along with Christ, to see it's good, to see his praise and his glory in it, that we're counted worthy of the cause of Christ. Oh, that we would live that out. I hope you can share together today some times where you've suffered and struggled, not all about yourself, but for behalf of the gospel, for the cause of Christ. And then I want to have a really quick conversation with you. There's no shame in this struggle. It says this, yet if anyone suffers as a Christian, let him not be ashamed, but let him glorify God in that name. For it is time for judgment to begin at the household of God. And if it begins with us, what will the outcome for those who do not obey the gospel of God? For us, the fire, the holy fire of God is a purifying fire, not a judging fire. And man, there's no shame in the suffering. There's no shame in the struggle. Trust the work of God. Man, if you're experiencing shame in your struggle, you know, I literally talk to people who feel guilty over the fact that they've been tempted. Jesus was tempted, yet he was without sin. Just keep fighting the good fight. It's worth the fight. Oh, do good. I challenge you to have a conversation today about the good God's calling you to do. What is it that you need to start suffering for the cause of Christ for? What is the good God's telling you to do right now? Share it with one another and be held accountable to it. Have a great life group.